parts of what has taken place in Washington. Too little time has been spent thinking about why. Anyone who's trying to understand the significance of what's going on right now ought to watch the video of the woman who was shot.
Okay, dude, come on, dude!
Inside the U.S. Capitol this afternoon. In the footage, which we're not going to show you because it's too upsetting, but you can find it on the internet, the woman is standing in a hallway right off the House floor at the center of the Capitol building. She appears to be in her 20s. She's got an American flag tied around her neck. The scene around her is chaotic. People are bumping into each other, yelling, trying to get through the door into the Senate chamber. Suddenly, with no warning...
Bro, she literally died because of you. Like, her blood is on your hands, Tucker. It's people like you that have gotten these people whipped up in a fucking frenzy of lies and madness and do your own research mentality from all the way from your show down to the fucking psychotic QAnon radicalization that occurs on Facebook, where a woman, a 14-year Air Force veteran with a high security clearance apparently, finds herself flying from fucking San Diego to motherfucking Washington, D.C. to storm the halls of Congress and gets clapped while she's climbing a fucking barricade. If there is anyone who is responsible for this, it's Republican politicians and the Republican media apparatus that have elevated these psychotic claims and at every step of the way used it to their advantage because they thought that it would provide them electoral success. If you organize around psychotic conspiratorial ramblings, if you consistently defend conspiracy theorists on the virtue of freedom of speech, despite the fact that they are legitimately damaging the marketplace of ideas by lying routinely, then you are responsible. What the fuck were you expecting?
There is gunfire. You hear a shot, and the woman falls. She's been hit with a bullet. Seems like the neck could be the chest. Apparently it was fired by someone in law enforcement. People in the hallway scream. The camera closes in on the woman's face. She looks stunned. She is staring straight ahead, unblinking. In her eyes, you can see that she knows she's about to die, which in the end she did. The woman died a couple of hours ago at a local hospital. So what can we learn from this? It's not enough to call it a tragedy. Imagine for a second getting the call and learning that was your daughter. The last time you spoke to her, she was heading to Washington for a political rally. Now she's dead. You'll never talk to her again. Seriously, imagine that. If you have children, it will put you in the right frame of mind. That's what we're watching. And we may be watching a lot.
Yeah, you imagine that. And the fucking anger that you should feel as a father or as a loved one, as a husband, is towards Donald Trump, is towards those who fucking led her astray, is towards those who said that they were preaching the truth when they put them in this position of desperation. Okay? Those are the people responsible for it. She doesn't know any better. I'm sorry. She's too fucking stupid. Okay? Yeah, I am belittling a person who just recently got executed in the hands of the police. She's too dumb because she believes in QAnon conspiracies. Okay? Sorry. That's the fucking hard truth. And the same goes for your parents too. And the same goes for your loved ones as well. Why do I always tell you, no matter how far gone they are, do not abandon your loved ones. Try to keep in contact with them because they've gone off the fucking deep end, but you can still save them because that isolation is a big part of the reason why they go further and further into those conspiracies. Okay? But the people that know better and the people that willingly and purposefully spread misinformation, this poison that these psychos mainline, those are the people who are responsible for her brainwashing. Those are the people who are responsible for her dying. Those are the people who have blood on their hands. And Tucker Carlson absolutely is one of those people.
A lot more of it in the coming days. Political violence begets political violence. That is always true. It is an iron law. It never changes.
Yeah, now he's going to turn it around to Antifa. Antifa is the real reason why the fascists and the psychopaths, the QAnon supporters became violent.
Changes.
Watch.
And we have to be against that. No matter who commits the violence or under what pretext. No matter how many self-interested demagogues assure us the violence is justified or necessary, as they have been assuring us, lying to us for the past 6 months. We have a duty to oppose all of this. not simply because political violence kills other people's children, which
This motherfucker defended Kyle Rittenhouse, bro. I mean, he defended Kyle Rittenhouse. He has criticized Black Lives Matter over and over and over again. He has no sympathy for black causes of equality and justice that pertain in some respects to a larger percentage of black people, I guess, because police brutality is not an issue that simply only affects black and brown communities. It affects poor white people as well. But Tucker doesn't care about that. What did he say? He didn't. Anyway, let's keep going.
But because in the end, it doesn't work. No good person will live a happier life because that girl was killed in the hallway of the Capitol today. So our only option as a practical matter is to fix what is causing this in the first place. We don't have a choice. You may have nothing in common with the people on the other side of the country. Increasingly, you probably don't. But you're stuck with them. The idea that groups of Americans will somehow break off into separate, peaceful nations of like-minded citizens, that's a fantasy. That will not happen. There is no such thing as a peaceful...
Kind of a weird take from a dude who literally wants to have a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant ethno-state, like...
peaceful separation. There never has been, and there won't be. The two hemispheres of this country are inseparably intertwined. They're co-joined twins. Neither can leave without killing the other. So that's the first thing to know. As horrifying as this moment is, we have no option but to make it better, to gut it out. The second thing to consider, and it's related to the first, is why the woman who was killed today went to the rally in the first place. We don't know anything about her, but she did not look particularly radical. She bore no resemblance to the angry...
Bro, she literally was wearing QAnon garb, dude. Shut the fuck up. If I could fucking find this information off of Twitter and a fucking San Diego local newspaper that confirmed it, you can too. She's literally a QAnon supporter. Unless you are unironically claiming that being a QAnon supporter is not an indication that you are a radical person, which Tucker Carlson very well might as well be saying. I don't know. I mean, he is a fucking complete psychopath, so maybe he is saying that. The person who got killed today was tweeting about save the children. I could have met this person at the fucking Cuties rally and not know it, because when I went to the Netflix Cuties rally. Ashley Babbitt, the San Diego Air Force veteran who died today after Capitol Police shot her inside the Capitol building. It's an unacceptable level, no matter what your political perspective is. That level of police brutality is unacceptable. I'm sorry. She's storming into the Capitol building, certainly. Why didn't they kill all 1,000 of the people that stormed in? Clearly, they were able to de-escalate, and clearly they were able to deal with the matter without killing people, right? Obviously, taking photos with them is unacceptable, but what's infinitely less acceptable is killing one of them, okay? When I criticize police for the way that they deal with black protesters during Black Lives Matter, and then I compare it to how they dealt with these hogs, these terrorists that fucking stormed the Capitol building, I'm not making that comparison to say, why don't you fucking kill these people? Or why don't you fucking beat the shit out of these people like you did with the black people protesting? I'm saying that because they should de-escalate conflict with black people protesting as well. Of course, I'm not asking them to take selfies with the BLM protesters. But it's still unacceptable that she was shot and killed. Sorry. Unacceptable. Yet another instance of police brutality. But many relatively well-off white people, or delusional white people, and black people too sometimes when they are conservative, mostly just conservatives though, make that trade-off where they believe that the police are killing the bad guys and keeping society safe. So sometimes a couple good guys, a couple patriots get killed along the way, and that's just collateral damage. It's gonna happen. But ultimately, they are separating the good guys from the bad guys, so it's acceptable. It's not acceptable. Anyway, regardless, stop trying to justify fucking killing someone who's storming a Capitol building. I don't care if it's a black person doing it. I don't care if it's a white person doing it. I don't care what their background is. It's still fucking ridiculous. The real problem in that circumstance is the fact that they were allowed in to the halls of Congress to begin with. The real problem in that circumstance is that there were 4 barricades that they basically opened up. The real problem in that circumstance was National Guard was not deployed ahead of time to do a show of force to make sure that this conflict never even escalated to that point. I don't know why it did. I don't know what kind of decisions were made, or lack thereof, rather. What allowed people to think that having 100,000 Trump supporters get agitated outside of the halls of Congress by being goaded into doing acts of violence by the literal fucking president, just like he has agitated them for the past 4 years, was going to prove to be a peaceful gathering. I don't know why you thought that. Everyone knew what was going to happen. And yet they didn't take the necessary precautions. That's bullshit, man. That's the real fault there. That's the real problem. The fact that not a single one of these people got arrested is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. How the fuck are you drawing comparisons here? I respect your consistency, but I disagree with you. You disagree with me on what? Did she deserve to get killed? No, I don't think she deserved to get killed. 13 arrests, ladies and gentlemen. 13 arrests were conducted today. 13. Cops detained 13 black kids when they're looking for, like, someone who engaged in grand larceny on an off day. 10,000 hogs stormed the Capitol building, break in, fight cops, steal government, like, classified information, take photos of classified information left on laptops and shit. 13 arrests. Don't tell me there's not fucking white privilege in this country, dude. Come on. Now, I know some of those people that were there were black. I know. They were fighting for a white-ass cause. Okay? Last night, the people of Georgia elected the 11th African-American senator in the entire history of the United States. Not this year, not this past year. The 11th. The 11th black senator in the entire history of the United States. Come on. Come the fuck on, dude. People love to immediately run to say, hey, well, there's not that many black people in America. They only make 13% of the population, Hasan. Senate's not supposed to be proportional representation. But even if it was, your argument does not stand. That's 0.07% of all senators throughout history, motherfucker. Not 13% of senators. Was it 0.26? My bad. Throughout history, chat. Throughout history. Anyway. Regardless. So yeah, we got here because Tucker Carlson said that she was not radical. That's a lie. She was. Unfortunately, like millions of others, she found herself believing the dumb shit that she saw on her timeline. Some of you have relatives just like her. Luckily, maybe they're not so far gone that they fucking flew out. Some of you have literally relatives that did fly out to D.C. Some of you know people that flew out. Even I know fucking people that flew out. And I got no immediate or distant relatives that believe in Trump or like Trump. I'm very fortunate that way. Possibly because a lot of them are Turkish. Almost all of them. These people are all around us. They're not like a couple random violent extremists. They're all around us. That's the union plumber that comes to your house. You know? That's the guy who owns the fucking used car dealership down the street. They're your dads, they're your brothers, they're your wives, they're your sisters. They're all around us. Don't let like Republicans try to make it seem like this is just an aberration and an anomaly. When in fact, this is the logical conclusion of many years of white grievance politics and racial agitprop that Republicans have utilized to win elections. Paired up with the insane, insatiable thirst for profits that companies like Facebook and YouTube have. So they just unload on these rabbit holes. They open up the floodgates on radicalizing boomers and even Zoomers with as much psychotic misinformation as possible because it profits them. It increases time spent on the platform. So, hey, that's good. That's a lot of ad dollars, baby. Saying that these are random, or not random, but like saying that these are extremists, violent extremists that are not necessarily regular old folk shows that you don't understand regular old folk. They are responsible for it too, and especially Tucker Carlson.
Angry children we have seen again and again wrecking our cities. Pasty, entitled nihilists dressed in black, setting fires, spray painting slogans on statues. She didn't look like that. The woman in the Capitol...
Yeah, those are the real radicals. What Tucker is saying is she wasn't black, okay? That's what he's saying. Like, you know, come on, she wasn't Antifa, she wasn't black. Doesn't look like a radical.
Did not look particularly radical. She bore no resemblance to the angry children we have seen again and again wrecking our cities. Pasty, entitled...
Yeah, because it's okay to kill those, right? You fucking piece of shit.
Nihilists dressed in black, setting fires, spray painting slogans on statues. She didn't look like that. The woman in the Capitol hallway looked pretty much like everyone else. So why was she there on a Wednesday? Why were any of them there today? We ought to think about that. If you want to fix it, you have to think about that. The only reason this country is rich and successful is because for hundreds of years we have enjoyed a stable political system. And the only reason that system is stable is because it's a democracy. It responds to voters. Democracy is our pressure relief valve. As long as people sincerely believe they can change things by voting, they stay calm. They don't storm the Bastille. They don't burst into the House chamber. They talk and they organize and they vote.
I mean, yeah, that's true. So why were they there? Because one man decided that democracy just means like I win every time. And because Republicans have been running that line for so fucking long that it's stuck. How many segments do you think Tucker Carlson dedicated on this election cycle alone to election integrity? How many hours did Tucker Carlson spend lying about how our elections are fundamentally broken? And not because of the Electoral College. That is a fundamental flaw. Not because the Senate is literally unjust. That the Senate, the injustice built in, the inequalities built into the Senate. Lindsey Graham is speaking. Okay, we'll get back to Tucker Carlson in a second. Tucker Carlson very much contributed to the lies, just like every other Republican did.
In Florida, sent 2 slate of electors. They had 2 governments, by the way, and we didn't know what to do. Why did South Carolina, Florida, and Louisiana do it? To hold the country hostage to end Reconstruction. It worked. The commission was 8-7. It didn't work. Nobody.
I don't know why you guys want me to fucking watch this clown ass dude. I don't know. I don't care.
Me out. The rest is history. It led to Jim Crow. If you're looking for historical guidance, this is not the one to pick. If you're looking for a way to convince people there was no fraud, having a commission chosen by Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, and John Roberts is not going to get you to where you want to go. It ain't going to work. So it's not going to do any good. It's going to delay, and it gives credibility to a dark chapter of our history. That's why I'm not with you. But I will fight to my death for you. You're able to object. You're not doing anything wrong. Other people have objected. I just think it's a uniquely bad idea to delay this election. Trump and I, we've had a hell of a journey. I hate it to end this way. Oh my God, I hate it. From my point of view, he's been a consequential president. But today, first thing you'll see. All I can say is count me out. Enough is enough. I've tried to be helpful. But when the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled 4-3 that they didn't violate the Constitution of Wisconsin, I agree with the 3, but I accept the 4. If Al Gore can accept 5-4, he's not president. I can accept Wisconsin 4-3. Pennsylvania, it went to the Second Circuit. So much for all the judges being in Trump's pocket. They said, no, you're wrong.
He was a literal Federalist Society judge that overturned
Trump's lawsuit
it.
wasn't right. Georgia, they said the Secretary of State took the law in his own hands. He changed the election laws unlawfully. A federal judge said, no, I accept the federal judge even though I don't agree with it. Fraud. They said there's 66,000 people in Georgia under 18 voted. How many people believe that? I asked, give me 10. I hadn't had one. They said 8,000 felons.
No, they don't realize the grift has gone too far, my friend. It's that it's over. Like, they knew the grift had gone too far a long time ago. They just didn't care. But it's like, literally, the time is done now. They just don't have time.
We got to end it. Vice President Pence, what they're asking you to do, you won't do because you can't. You talk about interesting times. I associate myself with Rand Paul. How many times will you hear that? The mob has done something nobody else could do to get me and Rand to agree. Rand is right. If you're a conservative, this is the most offensive concept in the world, that a single person could disenfranchise 155 million people. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House of Representatives, open all certificates, and the votes shall then be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be president. Where in there does it say Mike can say, I don't like the results? I want to send them back to the states. I believe there was fraud. To the conservatives who believe in the Constitution.
Yeah, where the fuck was this a month ago, you dipshit? This is why it's so frustrating. All of these fucking crooks and liars literally stood back and kept their fucking mouths shut when Trump was running his goddamn mouth, radicalizing the people nonstop. None of them demonstrated the courage of, like, literally being like, come on, you had 4 fucking years, but it's time to go.
You got a son who flies F-35s. You got a son-in-law who flies F-18s. They're out there flying.
That's fucking bullshit, dude. Here. This is why you cannot be blinded by this last second, like, oh, come on, we're all just friends over here. Come on, Trump has gone really out of control bullshit, okay? They are all fucking crooks. And I'll take it one step further. The Democrats that also try to normalize this sort of behavior from the Republicans that make it seem like they're all just like, oh yeah, we're all just getting together. We're all just colleagues, aren't we? They're fucking crooks too. These fucking pieces of shit, dude.
That maybe I, above all others in this body, need to say this. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are lawfully elected and will become the president and the vice president of the United States on January the 20th.
I mean, this is just like, this is a performance. It's a facade. That's all this is. It's theater. They are acting like the past fucking 4 years didn't happen in one last-ditch effort.
All time has expired. The question is, shall the objections submitted by the gentleman from Arizona, Mr.
They feeling
Gosar,
guilty as
and
fuck?
the
No,
senator
they're
from
not.
Texas, Mr. Cruz, and
No.
others be
They're
sustained?
using this as an opportunity to wash themselves of the sin of defending Donald Trump literally until the last moment. They could have stopped Trump a month ago. They could have stopped Trump 2 months ago. They could have sided with the truth, and
Is there a
liberals
second?
still would have hugged and kissed them.
There
And
is.
they still are going to hug and kiss them
Clerk
after
will
this.
call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin. Mr. Barrasso.
You don't get to fucking
Mr.
bully
Bennett.
the disabled kids
Mrs.
for the entire
Blackburn.
school year, and then on the last day of class say,
Blumenthal.
oops, sorry, and then come back next year to do the exact
Mr.
same
Blunt.
shit. Okay?
Mr. Booker.
You don't feel guilt.
Mr. Bozeman. Mr. Braun.
What do you want to hear the votes, man? You already know what the fucking total is going to
Mr.
be.
Brown. Mr. Burr.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham personally called for Republican states
Ms.
and partisan
Cantwell.
electors literally commit voter fraud. He literally tried to
Mrs.
pressure.
Capito.
He literally tried to pressure the Georgia representatives,
Mr.
dude.
Cardin.
Or the Georgia Secretary of State.
Mr. Carper. Mr. Casey. Mr. Cassidy. Ms. Collins. Mr. Coons. Mr. Cornyn. Ms. Cortez Masto. Mr. Cotton. Mr. Kramer. Mr. Crapo.
Crapo.
Mr. Cruz. Mr. Daines. Ms. Duckworth. Mr. Durbin. Ms. Ernst. Mrs. Feinstein. Mrs. Fisher. Mrs. Gillibrand. Mr. Graham. Mr. Grassley. Mr. Haggerty. Ms. Harris. Ms. Hassan. Mr. Holy. Mr. Heinrich. Mr. Hickenlooper. Ms. Hirono. No. Mr. Hoven. I got excited. Mrs. Hyde-Smith. Mr. Inhofe. No. Mr. Johnson. No. Mr. Kane. No. Mr. Kelly. No. Mr. Kennedy. Aye. Mr. King. No. Ms. Klobuchar. No. Mr. Lankford. Mr. Leahy. No. Mr. Lee. No. Mrs. Loeffler. Mr. Lujan. No. Ms. Lummis. No. Mr. Manchin. No. Mr. Markey. No. Mr. Marshall. Aye. Mr. McConnell. No. Mr. Menendez. Mr. Merkley. Mr. Moran. Ms. Murkowski. Mr. Murphy. Mrs. Murray. Mr. Paul. Mr. Peters. Mr. Portman. Mr. Reed. Mr. Risch. Mr. Romney. Ms. Rosen. Mr. Rounds. Mr. Rubio. Mr. Sanders. Mr. Sass. Mr. Schatz. Mr. Schumer. Mr. Scott of Florida. Mr. Scott of South Carolina. Mrs. Shaheen. Mr. Shelby. Ms. Sinema. Ms. Smith. Ms. Stabenow. Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Tester. Mr. Thune. Mr. Tillis. Mr. Toomey. Mr. Tuberville. Mr. Van Hollen.
Cinemas with an S.
Mr. Warner.
Tommy Tuberville.
Ms. Warren. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Wicker. Mr. Wyden. Mr. Young.
No, I can't switch. Everyone's mad at me. They want to hear every single vote cast. As though it's important. You can't even hear it, but it doesn't matter. People in the audience needed to hear it. Without getting too political, how many monkeys is too many? What does that even mean? Bro, what is this community's obsession with, like, dude, look at this monkey. Dude, you need to look at this rock right now. Did you see this opal? Bro, look at how pretty this monkey is. Holy shit. Did I run an ad at the top of the hour? Is it fucking 7 p.m. already? I did. Okay. No, I ran one, right? I ran one already, right? I ran it early, right? Yes or no? Some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. You didn't run an ad. I don't know anymore. Not getting political. Why don't they have red, white, and blue carpets in there? Felix donated monkey video for sure. You didn't run an ad? Good news though, all gas Save the Children rally video is out. That is good news. Okay, let's move on to fucking the house.
Or it might seriously
All right,
have gone
it's top of the
wrong.
hour every hour. I'm running an ad.
you reject the notion.
You did, in fact, run an ad. It was for the votes in the Senate.
I'd like to offer a slightly different.
I did, right? Is TTS off? Yeah, right now.
Perspective. Perhaps it will be rejected. I think if I were sitting
No,
on the
you
other side
didn't.
of the
No,
aisle, it would be very difficult for me to
no,
listen
tell
to
me if I
tonight,
did or not.
You all have heard it said, and it certainly is true, that many executive branch officials around the nation departed from state legislatures, enacted laws. I think it's less understood how this came to pass. It was
You didn't
not
run an
a
ad?
spontaneous,
Okay.
independent
Top of the hour, every hour.
decision-making,
Time for a 60-second ad break.
but it resulted,
I'm running
I
it
would
right
argue,
now.
from a coordinated
Apologies
nationwide
if
partisan
you saw an
plan.
ad. But here it is.
And the fact
Just
and
60
scope
seconds.
of the plan, it really isn't disputed. If you go to democracydocket.com, it is the website of Mark Elias, the National Democratic
Okay, I'm going back to
election
Tucker
lawyer,
Carlson.
who appeared in hundreds of cases across the country in the course of the election year.
I do not have a system for
this plan
this
was
yet.
not a response to.
I rely on my chat. Literally, my chat tells me when I run ads and not. All right, let's finish this fucking dumbass rant that I was in the middle of when everyone was like, oh my God, you have to watch Lindsey Graham. He's really spitting right now. You have to watch Lindsey Graham do his tight five. He is kind of killing it, is what some of you literally sounded like. Let's finish this fucking WASP nationalist dipshit talk about how it's actually the liberals that are really violent and how it's actually liberals that are the reason why, Trump supporters stormed the fucking halls of Congress today. Ay, ay, ay. He is just, he really does it for me, dude. Tucker Carlson gets me in a way that is difficult to describe.
But the opposite is also true. If people begin to believe that their democracy is fraudulent, if they conclude that voting is a charade, that the system is rigged and it's run in secret by a small group of powerful, dishonest people who are acting in their own interests, then God knows what could happen. Actually, we do know what could happen. It's happening right now.
Because a group of secret people tilted the balance in favor of the Democratic Party. And that's why these people that stormed the Capitol are justified. That's what Tucker Carlson is saying, by the way. Just remember, that's what he's saying currently.
It's happened in countless other countries over countless centuries. And the cycle is always the same because human nature never changes. Listen to us, screams the population. Shut up and do what you're told, reply their leaders. In the face of dissent, the first instinct of illegitimate leadership is to crack down on the population. But crackdowns never make it better. Instead, they always make the country more volatile and more dangerous. The people in charge really understand that. They don't want to. They don't care to learn or listen because all of this conversation is a referendum on them and their leadership. So they clamp down harder. Obey, I tell you, obey. This is the Romanov program. It ends
On this vote, the
badly
yeas are
every
6,
single
the
time.
nays are 93. The objection is not sustained. The Secretary will notify the House of the action of the Senate, informing that body that the Senate is now ready to proceed to joint session with further counting of the electoral vote for President and Vice President. Majority Leader.
Mr. President. So, colleagues, here's where we are. We have a few more speakers now as we wait for the House to finish their debate and vote. We expect the House to finish voting on Arizona between 11:30 and midnight. I ask unanimous consent the Senate be in a period of morning business with the following senators permitted to speak therein for up to 5 minutes each: Senator Toomey, Senator Rubio, Senator Collins.
And on our side, Senators Wyden, Hirono, and Coons.
Finally, following their remarks, the Senate stand in recess subject to the call of the chair.
No.
Maybe not. Maybe not. We may have. Okay, so we'll figure it out.
The Senate be in a period of morning business with the following senators permitted to speak therein for up to 5 minutes each: Toomey, Rubio, Collins.
Wyden, Hirono, and Coons.
Without objection.
It is kind of funny. I guess let it be a moment of solace that all of these fucking 80-year-old freaks have to stay up way past their bedtime now.
This isn't yours, right?
I guess the little victories.
So we're in recent.
I have no idea what's going on. Are they in recess or not? Did they? I guess they are. Another YouTube link for on the coverage for after. Oh, thanks. Okay, let's finish the Tucker Carlson video, please.
But that doesn't mean they won't try it again. Of course they will, because it's their nature. It's how we got here in the first place. Millions of Americans sincerely believe the last election was fake. You can dismiss them as crazy. You can call them conspiracy theorists. You can kick them off Twitter.
I mean, they are.
But that won't change their minds. Rather than trying to change their minds, to convince them and reassure them that the system is real, that the democracy works, as you would do if you cared about the country or the people who live here, our new leaders will try to silence them. What happened today will be used by the people taking power to justify stripping you of the rights you were born with as an American. Your right to speak without being censored. Your right to assemble, to not be spied upon, to make a living, to defend your family, most critically. These are the most basic and ancient freedoms that we have. They're why we live here in the first place. They're why we're proud to be Americans. They're what make us different. And they're all now in peril. When thousands of your countrymen storm the Capitol building, you don't have to like it. We don't. You can be horrified by the violence, and as we said, and we'll say it again, we are horrified. It's wrong. But if you don't bother to pause and learn a single thing from it, from your citizens storming your Capitol building, then you're a fool.
Yeah. No, for real. I mean, I said this earlier today as well. But it's people like you, Tucker, that have created this environment. It's people like you who defend the Republicans and the Democrats, too, from time to time, that have created this environment of instability. This didn't happen in a vacuum, just like Donald Trump is not the reason why everything fell apart. Okay? Donald Trump is merely a symptom and not the disease itself. The system is fundamentally broken, and anyone who does not speak out against the status quo, or even worse, acts like the system is broken exclusively so they can reinforce the dominant hierarchy of white supremacy. Because that's what Tucker Carlson does. Oh, the system is so broken. We really care about the workers, which is why we should make sure that immigrants are locked away in concentration camps forever. Like, that's Tucker Carlson's entire shtick. Oh, I just want like a little bit of socialism, but like not really. But even if we gave a little bit of socialism, it would be for just, you know, the workers that deserve it, the American, the folk, the folkish Americans, you know, the real Americans, not those unwashed immigrants that are coming over the border and bringing in disease. That's literally what Tucker Carlson has said, by the way. Stop saying folks with an X. Volk is the way that Nazis did the exact same kind of propagandizing that Tucker's doing. And ironically, Tucker, just like the Nazis, is very much in support of big business. Just like the fascists were. Volks. So yeah, we do have to look at the problems. But the problems are not immigration. The problems are those who use immigration to deflect away from the actual problems. It's not because some fucking law-abiding abuela came over the goddamn border last year with her child in tow. That's not the reason why you don't have health care. Okay? Well, not you. Tucker is a quadrillionaire, Swanson Frozen Food Dynasty recipient, or an heir to the Swanson Frozen Food Dynasty. I mean, his literal fucking... His brother's last name is like Buckley, okay? Or not last name. His brother's middle name is Buckley, all right? That's all you need to know about their family. That's why he's always been and will continue to be a real libertarian, a right-winger. He can talk about how much he hates Jeff Bezos all he wants. But the people that he ends up defending are the ones who literally unshackle regulation so that Jeff Bezos can justify the horrific work practices that that his company benefits from. Okay? Matt Gaetz is covering for Trump. I'm going to finish this. I don't give a fuck.
You lack wisdom and you lack self-awareness. You have no place running a country.
We'll get to Matt Gaetz in a second.
We got to this sad, chaotic day for a reason. It is not your fault. It is their fault.
No, it's Tucker Carlson's fault.